Hello again and welcome to another mind map video, and today we're going to be working with the sacral chakra, which is the second one up, and it's associated with the element of water, and it's also very much associated with feelings and creativity and how we manifest our experiences of the world and embody that as feelings. On a physical level, it's very much associated with, as you would imagine, the urinary system, the bladder, the reproductive system. But today we're going to be focusing on bringing some of the aspects of the psychotherapeutics that I might use with clients together with this ancient philosophy and practice of yoga through the sacral chakra. So we're going to bring what I would call my professional side of it into focus by looking at the autonomic nervous system. So the autonomic nervous system, it's our lived experience of life. It's how we relate to things. So it's a kind of it is a neuroception. So it's not something that we know or that we're told, it's something that we absolutely experience. And that involves 5 of the cranial nerves that feed in to the brainstem, and they are, you could probably predict this, as it's neuroception and it's something that you experience. That's the eyes, that's the ears, that's the voice, that's facial expression, and that's head movement. Now, we all pick up, and I'm sure you've had these experiences where you think, this doesn't feel right, or there's something wrong about that person. Intuitively, I don't know there is, but I feel there is. That's neuroception, and it's so important. It's a very primitive but very informative part of being a human being that keeps us safe, because we have 2 main desires. One is the desire for safety, really, for security, and the other one is the desire for connection. You know, we want to connect with people, but also we want to be safe. And any of you that have been in relationships that have possibly been abusive, and that could be relationships at work, there could be personal relationships, you will understand the desire to, connect and get on with that person, and especially if it's somebody that you love, the desire to connect can be really quite overwhelming. You can put 120, 150, 190% in to try and connect with them. But sometimes if that isn't coming back, if we don't have co-regulation, so we don't have it coming from the other person, then we won't feel safe. And then we have this challenge between security and the desire to connect. So what I want to work with today, you might be able to hear a baby crying in the background. And actually, I'm just going to bring this to attention because that's my little grandson. He's only about 8 days old. He only has neuroception. He doesn't know anything about the world. No one's told him anything. He is trying to establish, does he feel safe? And he will want to connect up. It's gone quiet, so I'm assuming he has connected up in some way. But that's pure neuroception. The feeling of safety, security by your parents' voice, by the way they hold you, those things are experiential, aren't they? They are, they're part of our lived life experience. So we're going to work today with the sacral chakra because that's very much associated with this feeling level and the idea of water and the idea, the kind of flow around this element, I think is very useful, because I want us to think today about what we're holding on to, what disconnect, what experience or what person or what feeling or what negative thought we have about ourselves that we want to let go of. We want to release it. It's about releasing, letting go, and feeling safe, having well-being, feeling connected to a safe place in your world. So we're going to start the practice off today by putting our hands into a very simple mudra. So bring your hands together, lay one on top of the other, like this, and then connect the thumbs up. And I want you to pop this just below your belly button. Now, if you've checked into some of the other videos, you know how important the breath is. So what we're also going to bring in today is a little stimulation of the vagus nerve. Because when we're in a good place, when we have this co-regulation, we are in a place which is the ventral vagal place, or the place on the ventral vagal system that is the rest and digest. It's the safe place. And to stimulate the vagus nerve, we can do several things, but what we're going to do today, we're going to bring together the sound that's associated with working with the sacral chakra, which is VUM, okay, or VUM, if you pronounce it correctly, which has got a lovely kind of vibration and tone to it. So what I'd like you to do is close your eyes, empty out your lungs, take a nice inhale in, and on the exhale, we're going to make the sound VUM together. So inhale, VUM, and once more, inhale, VUM, and again, inhale, VUM, connect with your breath. Find your seat bones heavy on the floor. Relax your shoulders down and release your mudra. Bring your hands to your knees. Open your eyes. Now, we probably think that most of the disruption to feeling okay is happening in our head, in our thinking. But you might be surprised if I tell you that 80% of it is around the feeling place. It's to do with this, how we experience and feel these neuroceptions and bring them in and try and make sense of them. So what we're sensing, we are sending those messages or cues to our brain, and our brain is creating stories. Okay, so the brain really is responsible for 20% of really what's going on when we're a little bit distressed, and that's the stories we're holding on to. But all the time, 80% of what is happening is what we are bringing in, what we're experiencing. And this is why yoga is so important, because it's about the whole. It's about our breath. It's about partly our thinking and philosophy. It's about movement. It's about so much more. So the first exercise we're going to do today is just, again, a little stimulation of the vagus nerve, but a very simple one. So dropping your right hand to the floor, take your left hand up and over your head, so you're placing it to hold it on the side of your head. And then very, very gently, take your head to the side, and with the gentlest pressure, just the tiniest little bounce here. Just feel that neck stretch. Don't cause yourself any pain. Never in yoga go into a place of pain. Come back off that, it isn't useful. And let's go to the other side. So drop your left hand down and take your right hand up and over your head. Place it to the side of your head here and gently stretch the neck the other way. You may just want a tiny bit of movement. We're working on the sacral chakra, it's water. You know, water has movement most of the time, unless you're looking into a pond. Water with rain moves, rivers move, the sea moves. So movement is quite important for this particular chakra, the sacral chakra. And release and let your hands go down by your side. Now we're just going to bring the shoulders up and down and drop them down the back, because we hold an awful lot of our tension in our shoulders. So just some gentle movement. Bring them up to your ears, drop them back down, up to your ears and drop them back down. Take your hands out to the side, palms uppermost. Now I want you to imagine that you are bringing water up in your hands, up and over your head, and you're going to bathe yourself in some warm, loving gesture. And maybe that gesture is just, I'm okay, I'm loved, I'm working it out, whatever comes to mind. But I want to start the day with some self-love and a connection to yourself. So we're going to do this 3 times. So eyes front to start with. As you bring your hands up, take your eyes up with it as if you're bringing a big cauldron of lovely water above your head. And then let your hands, like rain, come down. The eyes can follow as you come down and bathe yourself in some warmth or love. And arms out to the side, eyes front, and then coming up, 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 as if you're gathering all this water up that's full of good feeling and love and security and warmth, and just let it rain down upon you. And once more. What can you bring up here that you need? What can you bathe yourself with? I'm getting a bit bathed by sunlight now as the sun's come out. And let that rain down. And just rest. Now we're going to get ready to come onto all fours and start a little bit more of our asanas and our practice today. Just remember that when you're doing your yoga, there should never be any pain. Everybody's body is different. Now, especially when we're talking about the hip section here, women's hips are very different to men's, and even within that, we will all have a very different scope as to how much we can open our hips or not. Everybody's body is different. You will not necessarily be able to conform to a particular shape, nor should you, because it's not about the shape that you get into, it's the journey. There's things that I can't do anymore in yoga since I broke my leg, it's full of metal. There are things I wouldn't be able to do now because I broke my back in a car accident. That's never going to happen. Very strong back bends are not available to me because some of the vertebrae are fused. So every individual will have a different story attached to their anatomy. But it's the journey in between the asanas, it's the philosophy, it's what we're talking about today. And so I want you now to just close your eyes for a moment, put your hands in any way that you feel comfortable on the top of your legs, rest them on your thighs. And I want you to make a decision about something, someone, an experience, some words. You know, it could be an event that you want to let go of. And just take 5 breaths here and embody that you are going to through this practice. Release and let go. When you're ready, open your eyes. This is a good time to make sure you've gathered your yoga blocks, or if you don't have that, some books or cushion, because we will need it for, most definitely for one of the asanas today. Your blanket for your savasana. Make sure obviously you've got your comfy clothing on and you've got a nice space that you can work in. So we will meet on all fours. So we meet on our mat here in all fours, or on our mat in all fours, not in our mat. And we're going to just start off by loosening up through our hips and our shoulders and going a little bit off the tracks here and being creative. So I like to follow a figure of 8 movement as I do this, but you can choose to move however you like. But let's just start moving the body, so you bring your hips back towards your heels and then maybe coming over your hands a little, bending the elbows as you come round. You really want to try and get into each corner of every little joint, and that means having a bit of a wiggle. It means playing around, pulling upwards, pushing over, coming round, but gently following the whole theme of water and flow and movement. Maybe you want to round the back a bit. Maybe you want to raise the chin a bit. If you've gone one way, just make sure you go the other. And then we come and find our stillness and our connection to the mat. Make sure you've got your hands so your fingers are spaced well enough apart and you can feel the fleshy parts of the fingertips. And we're going to now stretch out with the right leg. Really give it a good old stretch, so where can it go, and drop it to the mat. And then very slowly moving over the toes as you go over your wrists and back. And just feeling those toes, feeling the stretch down that right leg. And coming to stillness. And we're now going to open up a little in the chest and the wing to the left-hand side. So I like to inhale as I bring my hand up. So with an inhale, bringing the left hand up to the sky, follow it with your hands and back down to the mat. If you don't get it all the way up, that's fine. You may only get it as far as here. Doesn't matter. It's the journey, not the destination. So 3 times and back to your mat. Bring your knee back to your all fours position and let's go on the other side. So again, looking down between your hands here, stretching out the left leg and just playing over those toes. You get a nice stretch in the foot here, you get to move the ankle. You also get a little bit of movement over your wrists, which is great for strengthening them. And finding stillness again, and we're going to open the wing to the other side. So for 3 rounds, coming up, take your eyes up, open that wing, and gracefully back down. 2 more. And come to stillness. Now just take your knees as wide as you can to the mat, toes together, and we're going to drop our bottom towards our heels and come into balasana, child's pose with our hands stretched out in front. Now just find your breath here. You may want to tap into your ujjayi breath, which is the breath that sounds like the sea. If you feel uncomfortable, have a little wiggle around and just let yourself melt into your mat. Now slowly and carefully bring the belly button a little bit towards the spine as you come up. Come back to all fours. And we're going to come up into our first downward dog. So with a nice big inhale, belly button towards spine and up into your downward dog. And just pedal away because it's the first one of the day. Make your own shape here.
and then coming to stillness. Now I want you to come down to your knees at the moment and just watch the video for a second, because we're going to do 3 waves of downward dog forward to plank. So if you watch me for the first one, what will happen is you will look forward, come forward over your hands into plank, bend the knees, drop them, pull them back, and into downward dog. Okay, so come up into your downward dog and let's do this together. So look in between your hands, come forward to your plank, drop the knees, pull your seat bones back to your heels, up to downward dog, and again. One more. And just pedal your downward dog out just for a moment. And then find stillness again and get ready to lift your right leg up to the sky. Look between your hands and bring that right foot forward between both of your hands and drop your left knee down to the ground. Now once you're here, find a little bit of stability. Sort out your clothing if you need to. Notice my microphone is caught up on my top there. So on your fingertips here, just find your breath, because in a moment we're going to inhale, and as we exhale we're going to come into a half split. Now I'm going to do one first. If you don't know what that is, just watch me. I untuck the toes, I inhale, and as I exhale I bring my head down by my knee and my toe up towards the sky and come back to my low lunge position. So let's do this together for 3. So when you're ready, inhale, exhale, half split. Coming forward, inhale, half split. And one more. And back up onto your fingertips. Now I want you to tuck the toes here for this asana that we're going to perform here, because you want a little bit of stability. Now slowly come up into your low lunge and let your hands drop down by your side. Just drop the shoulders and drop them back and down so that you're not holding on to any tension here. And then what we're going to do, we're going to inhale and come forward with our arms and up towards the sky, and exhale back and down. So I will do the first one, just watch and then join me for another 3. So I'm coming forward, inhale, exhale. Okay, come and join in. Forward, inhale, and hands down by your side. Fingers to the front of the mat, frame your foot. Now lift this leg up here and just take a little bit of movement here. You're going to come up to the front of your mat into your Uttanasana, forward fold. Just let yourself dangle here. And what I quite like, because we're doing the water element, is take hold of your elbows with your hands. And you know what it's like when you watch a buoy on the sea and that little orange thing that bobs up and down? Very, very gently. Just turn yourself into one of those little bobbing buoys. Don't force anything. Just let yourself have a little bit of movement here. You can bend the knees as much as you like. You might feel better here. Straight to the legs, the more you're going to feel it in your hamstrings. Okay, let the hands come to the mat. And now from here, we're going to step back with our right leg, and we're going to drop the other knee down, drop our right leg down to the floor. So stepping back with your right leg and drop the knee down. Again, up onto the fingertips and untuck your toes. And together we're going to do 3 half splits. So an inhale and exhale, coming back, head down towards the mat, toes up, forward, inhale, back, exhale. One more. Back to the front on your fingertips and tuck your toes. And then we find stability as we come up into our low lunge position and get ready for our 3 waves. So inhaling as we come forward and up. Exhale as you let your hands back down. And coming back to the front of your mat, bringing your left leg back and coming into your downward dog. Now from here, we're going to lower to the mat. Now you can drop your knees down first and then come down like this. Or if you have it within your practice, you can just lower yourself gradually to your mat. And once you're here, just let the legs be a little further apart. Feel those hip bones on the floor. Feel the fronts of your feet on the mat. And when you're ready, take your hands out to the side like you've got little spider legs. Okay, so not a flat arm on the floor, some bend in the elbow. And what we're going to do here is we're going to do 3 baby cobras. So on an inhale, we're going to lift our head and chest, using our spider fingers and spider arms as part of the support. But what's really important is to also help your back by bringing your belly button a little bit towards your spine as you lift. Make sure you feel your hip bones on the floor, and you do feel the fronts of your feet on the mat. So exhale, and on an inhale, coming up. Exhale, release. And 2 more. Now place your hands under your shoulders. Make sure your wings are in, so your elbows are in towards your side. First thing you do is tuck your toes, then you raise your kneecaps and belly button towards the spine as you inhale up into downward dog. Now you're in downward dog. I want you to look between your hands, and right in the center where your hands are, in a moment we're going to bring our right knee forward and place it there. So look forward, come forward slightly on your hands here, so you're almost in plank. Lift your right leg forward with a bended knee and place it between your hands. And we're now in pigeon pose, or one-legged pigeon, and this is where your block will come in really handy, or your books, or your cushion. So if you have a block, you can place it just under your seat bone really there, and that allows you to have a little bit of support. What's really important about this pose is that you make sure you feel as comfortable in your hip as you can do. If this is a new pose for you, you might only stay here for, I don't know, 5 seconds, and it's fine. You can come up and just watch the video until we move to the next asana. But if this feels comfortable enough, make sure that you are straight in your spine and you're not falling over to the seat bone of the leg that is bent. If you practice yoga regularly, you'll probably be able to come down over your knee. So that's your choice. So I'll leave it up to you. You can come down here, you can come down here. But if you're new to the practice, stay here. And just breathe for a moment into that hip joint. As I said, we don't want any yoga statues. We're not fixed in concrete. If you need to stretch your leg, wiggle your toes a little, get more comfortable. Please, please do that. And when you're ready, take the block from under your seat bone if you're using one, or your cushion. Tuck your toe. So tuck the toe, raise the kneecap, belly button towards the spine. Inhale, up into your downward dog. Adjust your downward dog if you need to. And we're going to do the same on the other side. So pigeon pose now with the left knee bent. Look between your hands. Come up as if you're coming into your plank. Bring your knee up in between your hands and place it down gently. Again, you can use your blocks this side. Or, I'm just going to move for a moment just to demonstrate this. You stay where you are. Oh, wrong leg. Right, I'm going to wish I hadn't have done this, aren't I? Three books was too much. Okay, so if you have your books, make sure you try them out beforehand. So we're in our pigeon pose, and depending on your practice here, you might want to come over your leg. And just find your breath, as if you can stop laughing. This is an excellent hip opener. And slowly bringing your hands back, if you've had them out in front, folded. Take your book or block or your comedy prop out of the way. I'm sure a lot of people will cut this out of their videos, but you know, it's life, I'm leaving it in. That you will find out about me if you continue to follow these videos. Stuff happens, it's fine. Okay, tuck the toe, raise the knee, belly button towards your spine, coming back into your downward dog. Just settle there just for a second, then look between your hands and walk slowly, slowly up to the front of your mat. Now, here, take your feet as wide as the mat, so your toes spilling out. And with your books, if they're not naughty books, or your block, get that ready somewhere where you imagine your bottom is going to drop onto. And with your hands for support, Just lower yourself down. Just check out where that block is, or book, or cushion. And now we are in Malasana. So we're in a wide-legged squat here. If you haven't got any books, then you can just come to your mat and cross your legs for a moment. But if you are able to find this position, then with your hands in prayer position and your elbows just inside your knee, it's a really lovely position to be able to just put a tiny little bit of movement into those hips. So with my elbows, I can push my knees just a little bit apart. I'm not going to do it to the point where it's straining or hurting. I'm just feeling just the edge. If you have it in your practice and you practice yoga, then you won't need a block and you will probably be in this position in your low squat. Obviously this isn't for a beginner, so when you're ready, put your hands to the mat and very, very carefully coming forward and coming back. Feet hip width apart into your Uttanasana. Drop your head down, forward fold. Come up halfway. And we're in 3 rounds now of just a really lovely stretch up to the sky as we inhale. So we're bending the knees, hands to the floor and up. Hands above your head, prayer position, and forward and back down into your Uttanasana. Bend the knees, come up. Prayer above your head, fold forward, and one more. And hands, Anjali Mudra, to your heart. Okay, coming hands to the mat here, stepping back, lowering your knees, cross your ankles behind you, and slowly with your hands walking yourself back over your ankles and come to the top of your mat. Once you're at the top, just stretch those legs out in front of you. Make any adjustments to your clothing. We're now in staff pose or Dandasana. And it seems like quite a simple pose, doesn't it? Because we literally just got our legs out in front of us. But what can you feel here? Can you feel your seat bones on the floor? And sometimes it's really handy to just get hold of the fleshy bit. And I do have a bit of fleshy bit, and pull that out from underneath. And really feel those seat bones. And then as if you've got a little pointy berry with the little, like you get on an apple, the little bit that sticks out. Just pull yourself up just a touch, but then relax down into that position. And just what can you feel? Your seat bones, your heels on the floor. Let your thighs be heavy. Make sure you're not holding your shoulders up. Drop your shoulders back and down. And this is a really nice preparation for coming to a variation of Viparita Karani, which is variation of legs up the wall. And we're going to do this now by using our block. And so I want you to reach for your block or your cushion. And just come down onto your back with your legs out, stretched in front. And then place your block or your cushion just underneath your pelvis. So bring your knees up, lift up, and pop your block there. The reason I really love this, especially legs up the wall in particular is it's a great vagus nerve balancer. And remember when we were talking about the place of the vagus nerve, we want to be in ventral vagus, which is the happy place. It's the place where we can rest and digest, we can play, we can be creative. And to stimulate the vagus nerve in a way that's very useful, this is one of the asanas that's helpful. And I would recommend it to anybody that is suffering with a little bit of stress, anxiety, tension. If you can spend a few minutes a day with your legs up against the wall, it will really benefit. But today we're going to do a variation. So we're going to put our hands on the floor, and then we're going to raise our legs up. And don't worry too much if you don't have to be completely straight. You know, if you get them here, that's fine. It's the journey, not the destination. And just for a moment, feel the difference. You know, it's really interesting, isn't it? Because this is great for stimulating the flow of blood and lymph in a direction it doesn't normally go, because we're normally on our feet. And we're working with the sacral chakra, which is associated with water, which is really lovely because we're thinking about flow, thinking about, you know, draining things. And as we said in the very beginning, what do we need to let go of? You know, what do we need to flush out? But this is excellent. You know, most of our body mass is made up of water. So, you know, working with this particular asana is very, very useful for letting go and movement. If it feels too much already, just bend your knees, bring them back down to the floor. Otherwise, let's just have a moment of silence and tap into the breath. Slowly, slowly drop first one foot to the floor and then the other. As you inhale, just bring your hips up to remove your block if you've got it. And just get yourself comfortable for a moment. As you take your feet as wide as the mat. Now we're going to do just a little movement that's often referred to as wipers or windscreen wipers, because we're going to move our knees one way and then we're going to move them the other. Now you can keep your hands on your belly, you can put your hands down by your sides. I like to have my hands out to the side, and when I take my knees to the right, I look to the left. I like to do this because, again, it's a nice vagus nerve stimulator, because it runs all the way up the side of your face and in your neck. It starts, remember, in your belly. It goes to all the different organs of your body and obviously to your brain. It's a great receptor of all that is out there of our life experience. So when you're ready, we're going to drop our knees to the right as we exhale. So take an inhale, exhale to the right, inhale to come up, exhale to the left. Find your own pattern and rhythm here. There's no rush. And come to the center and relax. Now cross your legs in front of you and just bring your knees up towards you, and just have a little bit of a roll around on the back of those seat bones and your pelvis, maybe moving little circles with your knees, maybe the other way. And then when you're ready, let your feet drop to the floor and turn onto one side or the other and bring yourself up very, very carefully onto your mat. Now, for this next asana, which is often called cobbler's pose, or bound, it's called cobbler's pose, we'll call it today, otherwise I'm giving you too many Sanskrit names in one go. So what's really helpful here is, you remember when we were in staff pose, when we were here and we pulled the flesh out from under our bottom. This is really helpful. And also what's really helpful here is if you've got your blanket or your cushion, you can pop it just underneath those seat bones. And once you feel comfy here, bring your feet so the soles of your feet are facing each other, and bring them up so your heels are touching and just the balls of your feet are touching. Don't press. Now, if you have your blocks or your naughty books, like mine, they're too slippery, you can put those under your knees. And then again, keeping a really lovely, upright but not stiff position, so that we give ourselves a chance for all of the system here to be in line, so the building blocks of our spine, one above the other, not folding over here. So nice and straight. And just let your knees fall open, whatever that means for you in your practice today. Whether that's on a block or not. And just breathe mindfully into those hips, into the sacral chakra, into your lower limbs. Find your Ujjayi breath again. If it feels too tight in your hips, let your feet move further forward, maybe to here. And when you're ready, let the legs straighten out in front. Remove your blocks and your cushion and prepare for your savasana. So if you need a blanket, just get your blanket ready and place it over yourself. I'm filming in winter months here, so it's not particularly warm. And then when you're ready, lower yourself to the ground. Close your eyes, hands by your side, palms facing upwards, and let the feet splay outwards, let them go. Now, part of the Yoga Sutras, one of the 8 limbs of yoga, is a branch called yamas. And there's a particular word that fits in the yamas called ahimsa. And it basically is pertaining to not doing, saying, thinking anything that is harmful, that is painful, not holding on to, not doing to yourself, obviously, or to others, but with the theme today about who or what or where What thing, what memory do we need to let go of? Do we need to release? I think that ties in nicely to not causing harm to ourselves. So with that in mind, starting at the very top of your head, I want you to really imagine, as we're working with water here, that, a lot of our body is full of water. I want you to imagine you're lying in this warm, warm water. And part of being in the water is how it's going to help you wash away what you don't need, how it's going to help release, maybe get into those difficult corners. Let your eyes be heavy, your eyeballs, your eyelids. Are you holding anything in those facial muscles? Let go. Maybe part your lips just a little so that you relax your jaw. Let those shoulders drop into the warm, warm water. Relaxing the tops of the arms, the elbows, fingers. Let go of any tension in your chest. Soothe and wash with the warm water down towards your belly and your hips. In your mind's eye, imagine the flow moving down the body of what you don't need, through those thighs as you relax them, and the knees and the calves, and your ankles, and let your feet be floppy, and all that you wish to release, let it go out through your feet, through your toes. It's landed in the water, and the tide is taking it out. The river is moving it away. It's going further and further as you find peace and well-being. You can barely see it, it's in the distance as it disappears. Bathe yourself in love and kindness and warmth and affection, closing your eyes until you hear the sound that brings you out of your savasana. Just beginning to wiggle your fingers and your toes, just gently, gently, gently. Keeping your eyes closed for a moment. And whilst your eyes are closed, just roll on to one side, doesn't matter which. And gently opening the eyes and coming back into the room. Now, with the greatest of care and moving slowly as you've been lying flat, bring yourself up onto one elbow, and with the other hand just pushing yourself back up onto the mat, and just coming back cross-legged just for a moment. The process, I've got a little froggy there. The process of letting go, it doesn't happen sometimes instantly. Sometimes it is a long process. But little by little, when we work towards knowing what is good for us, how we need to be in the state which gives us well-being, keeping ourselves away from harm, thinking about co-regulation, what is good, who is good for us, how do we work to get that to feel safe, to ensure and take notice of our neuroception when it tells us we're not. There's a part of our brain called the amygdala, which is really quite profound, because I would call that, it's like the smoke alarm. And if we've gone through a lot of trauma or pain in the past, you might find that that smoke alarm goes off pretty quickly. We can also call that red flags. Sometimes we need to take notice of that. But if we're not in a balanced place, if we're in fight flight, that smoke alarm can go off when it shouldn't. It's a bit like in my kitchen there's a smoke alarm. If every time I made a cup of tea, it took notice of the steam from the cup and went off, it would be bonkers. So we need the amygdala, we need that warning sign. But we aim to be in this good balanced place most of the time, so we're not triggering ourselves when we don't need to. So thank you for working with me today on the sacral chakra. Yes, let's meet again on the mat. Take care.